Namaste. Welcome. Good morning, everyone. This is day 4, December 4th, already, of my Advent calendar. And welcome to all of you. Lovely to have you here. And let's just get this all lined up. There we go. So, the cards on the table this morning's inspiration. Just for a moment, I would like you to pause and to think about what you know of these two cards. Good morning, Aria. And also notice how the wild cat is observing the world. There's something about the energy around the wild cat as well, too, that seems to be, that when you throw a pebble in a pond, there's this ripple effect. So I just encourage you to pause for a moment and just think about these two cards, and maybe really even looking into them from the eyes of the wild unknown. Of course, you can expand any other world and magician cards that you have. Bring them to mind. Something more familiar or something that you like. Because I'm going to pull some cards from the voice of the magician and the world cards in conversation with one another. And the reason I'm doing this today is because of an opposition between Jupiter and Mercury. Both planets are retrograde and both planets are in each other's signs. And without being astrologers, this is really interesting information to look at, even just with your tarot knowledge. So what does it mean when somebody is in another's home? One is not entirely comfortable. One is not in charge. One has to be a little more cautious. And these are two very, good morning, Saskia. Good evening to you, I should say. Two planets that are very much in my purview all the time. And I love to pay attention to what's going on with Jupiter because of my yogic association with that particular planet. So I'm just going to give you a moment to think about perhaps what the magician might be saying to the Wheel of Fortune card, knowing that they are very far from one another. They are, let's say they are gazing at a distance from one another. You know what this reminds me of? I did a home exchange once. I just need to change candles before this one does something funky. And at that time, I was living in Whistler, and we had quite a new, lavish home. And I had arranged on a website to do a home exchange with a home in about an hour's drive from Honolulu on Oahu. And it was close walking distance from the water, and I had certain expectations. And I'm not going to tell you the long story here, but this is the first time I had ever done this. And so I didn't have cameras or anything, but this was a long time ago. I was observing or wondering about what was going on in my home all the way across the Pacific Ocean, while being in somebody else's home and being slightly uncomfortable. So what happens when cards are not in their optimal strength? How do they behave? Now, the last few, I don't even know where we are. I was going to say about a week or so, we've been in Sagittarius. And the dynamic energy of Sagittarius and the fact that we are in a waxing, the moon is waxing. This is a place of intending and acting. I have been getting messages that really are in alignment with this reflection, because it's saying to me to hold back a little bit, to take some time to reevaluate and to contemplate what's going on. We do need to slow down. This is certainly not a time to go racing out of the gate. Grand rising to you, Intuitive Kingdom. Thank you for joining us. And I'm so inspired by this opposition, especially with these two planets. I want to be really mindful of this energy, both today, the next day, while this is still quite strong. So let's go to the cards. Intuitive Kingdom, do you wish to share your name? If so, go ahead and put it into the chat. Thank you. And let us know where you're from. Saskia is in Greece, and Arya is on the West Coast with me in North America. You know, I have to laugh here because I have been contemplating doing also a reading. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, of course. I remember you. Yes. Welcome. You changed your channel name. Okay, wonderful. I love the channel name. Okay, so I've been contemplating doing, maybe I will do that over the next few days, a reading focusing on the Hermit. Next year is 2025, which is a 9-year. And so I will be starting to look ahead with that energy. Lots of hilarity possible. Okay, let's go to Arya's comment here before I comment on the cards. Even though they are both moving slowly, you know, and when I'm reading Arya's comment there, I'm thinking about throwing objects across a classroom to my best friend. So the teacher's up at the front teaching, and I'm on one side of the classroom, and I throw a note all the way across, or maybe a pencil or an eraser, and hit my friend in the head at the opposite side of the classroom. So I appreciate that levity to what I've been contemplating here. We have talked about Four of Pentacles already in this series. And the thing I like about this Four of Pentacles is that it's a reminder to keep the energy moving. Hermit, of course, is a earth energy. Pentacles, earth energy. And so the Magician here is focusing on keeping the energy going. While Mercury is retrograde and Jupiter is retrograde, let's keep going. This is a waxing moon. This is Sun and Sag season. So let's focus on that light. And while the air outside may be a little cooler, at least it is where I am, we want to keep the fire bright and keep on going. There is something to be done. There's I get that sort of a cheeky energy between a playful energy, cheeky energy, playful energy between these two cards in that way, because the Hermit is rather well, let's just say slow for now energy. It's a more paced energy, and the Magician can be really, really rash. Okay, let's turn over the other cards. Let's get the whole picture. Wow. Okay, so remember that the Wheel card is sitting in company with the, if you're reading this tarotically, 8, 9, and 10 of Swords. And here we have the Ace of Swords, and we have the Son of Wands. So Arya, you feel, I feel like what you're saying is just, oh, you're in Massachusetts. Sorry. I thought you were on the West Coast. My bad. I have you mixed up with, I know who I've mixed you up with. You're on the East Coast of Massachusetts. My bad. Okay. So let's revisit this. On one hand, Four of Pentacles and Hermit, kind of stoic, slow, and steady cards. A unwillingness to, or a reluctance to release energy. And on the other side, we have this go-getter kind of energy. So there's kind of a push and a pull between the old man and the young man, the vibrant energy and the slow energy. So what are we going to do with this? For those, I'm at the top of my day, so I'm thinking, okay, I go to work today, and I could very well expect, I work in a high school, so I can see certain students, certain adults that I work with, in opposition about what needs to be done or how we are going to do something. So what do I want to do with this? What do you want to do with this? I want to go back as well too and say that my mind wandering to that home exchange also feels important, and that I want to make sure that I let the other say what they need to say and make sure that I help them voice what they need to say. The Ace of Wands has an important message about, let's use the word change, right? The wheel is about expanding energy, and when things expand, things are going to look a lot different. It's very hot on the right side of the reading. It's very hot. It looks like a science class, right? It looks like a science experiment, maybe going a little too far in one direction. And on the other side, it looks like except for that wildcat there, kind of a dull and slow and monotone voice of a teacher who's not particularly interesting. And yet there is some dynamic going on there. And look at the Magician card and the Son of Wands. So this energy is with us for a little bit, and it is in perfect opposition today. So pay attention to these polarities of energy and how you, and knowing that it is what it is, might make a difference in how you navigate it. Jupiter, because Sagittarius is, this is also a fire card, right? Sagittarius is a fire element, so that right side is really, really, really hot. And the Magician, being the element of air, is going to help to speed up this mechanism that we're seeing here in the Four of Pentacles. So I guess my advice is when this comes down, you wanna smile at it and know that I don't think anything too bad is going to come of any of this. They are ultimately going to balance each other out, and I think in a very positive way. Because ultimately they're both going to help us. If you set goals for or intentions for the beginning of this lunar cycle, they're both going to help with the dynamic energy, intention that you are putting into this this new moon. And for me, that feels it feels very supportive of the intention that I set. And I like having that wise one there. Okay, so here's another little layer that you might want to sit with. Another reason that I was thinking about using the Hermit as a significator and doing a preview for 2025, I also was thinking about, okay, so next year is a 9-year, this is an 8-year, and it's hard because some of us use 8 as strength, some of us use 8 as justice, and I wanted to do and have a look at, the sort of the final message for 2024. That's another thing that's in my brain. But I wanted to use the Hermit energy as energy of a wise one. And that fits with the Jupiter energy, which also is known as the Guru planet in Vedic astrology, in yogic inspiration. Yeah, I totally agree. Mutual receptions are very cool. This feels like it's opening my heart, and I love that. Yeah. Yesterday, I meant to welcome Heather, and I haven't seen her in a live stream yet. But Heather, if you're watching this replay, welcome. Thank you so much for joining the channel. All right, so let's go on. Favorite things. So yesterday, I shared with you my first five. My first five. And today I'm going to share with you my last five, and then I'm going to build my tarot tip out of my last five. And it should be no surprise that my last five include many Tarot de Marseille style decks, because I have been putting a lot of energy into the series that I've been running on Saturdays, and just loving the energy of these the reproductions. And so it's, I mean, I suppose this is odd that in my last are some of the older decks, and the one on the far right has become, it's a new favorite deck, and it will very much be a working deck of all of the Tarot de Marseille that I have been looking very closely at. This one just is speaking to me in a very special way. So far left is an Il Menengallo deck, and this is, I bought this through Tarot Arts, which is in the US, and this was colored. So the Vachetta tarot was originally black and white, and this tarot was colored by the founder of Il Menengallo, the late founder of Il Menengallo, and it is just a beautiful iteration of the Vachetta deck. I'll just unbox here. I have a mass market version of this deck, and it has borders and way too many words on it. And this one is this lovely paper, and I am really happy that I got this, because it just puts a whole new energy into the Vachetta tarot. And this card connects so many things for me. So if you want to go to the Devil episode of my Marseille series and hear what I have to say about this card, that's where to look for it. Yeah, beautiful paper, nice small cards. I love the star, moon, and sun. So very, very happy with this purchase. I've also been following top tarot trumps, top tarot trumps, and doing that series as well too, with musings. Inspired by Musings by Masha, Musings with Masha, Musings by Masha, and her collection of older reproductions is just amazing. And she has shared several Pablo Robledo decks over the years, and very hard. This is an Argentinian creator, not easy to get your hand on. So when I did see one become available, this is the 6th edition of the Tarot de Marcella of Pablo Robleda. I purchased it right away. And these are also small cards, and there's something about that. Let me open them for you. Beautiful traditional style back. And you get that older effect with the cards, the choice of cardstock color. And this one will be, this one is very similar. I think this one, I need to do some research on this deck, but I think Masha said that because I commented how similar this was to the Madanier deck, the one I just showed you, maybe I will do a side-by-side of the two of them. That Pablo Robledo was inspired by the Madanier deck. Yeah. And what have we here? Oh, this is the little chunky book, which I haven't read yet. Okay. And then the other one, which has now disappeared in this pile. This is Yves Renaud reproduction. And I have several Yves Renaud decks. And I have to say, I was a little disappointed that this box was a tuck box, because in the past, his boxes have been two-part boxes made of lovely paper, quality construction. So I was surprised to see, I mean, this is a raised, you can feel like the picture, the sticker that is on the box is quality. But it's a tuck box. And tuck boxes get ruined. I mean, also the Tarot de Marcella is also a tuck box. And these cards are a little bit bigger. At least they feel like it. Ever so slightly bigger. $900 copies. Looks like almost the end of this series. And it's the color, right? I do like the lighter background. And the thing about the Madanier and the Tarot de Marcella is that the faces are soft. The faces are faces for the most part. And what I mean by that is you can read the energy of the faces. They're not masks. They're not, some of them are, but they're, in Tarot de Marseille, some of the masks, some of the faces are really hard to look at. And the pips are just beautiful. They really are. So yeah, so those are 3 of the 5 lasts. And then I have 2 contemporary decks. Yes, it shuffles very well. Yeah. And then the other 2 are contemporary decks. One is the Ehrenberg Tarot, and the other is Tarot Arthurian by Claire Duval. And I ordered this from Amazon France. The guidebook is in French. And the artwork is by Anna Tourian. I ordered it for a couple of reasons. One is that my next chunk of energy is going to finally be in looking at an Arthurian deck I've said I'm going to do on my channel for years. And I wanted to have another Arthurian deck to compare to it, and this one happens to have the artwork of an Arthurian. And while it takes a very different, it's a different approach, I will be able to do some contrast and compare and discussions among the cards. So I'm very excited. And there really are some beautiful cards in this deck. And then the Ehrenberg Tarot, I am really intrigued with its perspective. Look at this Fool card. It's just lovely. And if you are familiar with the Arthurian stories, and I was looking at this card thinking, I appreciate the switching of gender. And yet I was sharing with you that yesterday, the Pamela Coleman Smith Untold Story, the large book. And did you know that The Magician is probably inspired by a young woman, that it's not a guy? If I did know that, I had completely forgotten. So it makes me smile that we have a woman. Looks like she has elf ears. Oh, and the kings and queens in this deck are in conversation with one another, and this is the King and Queen of Swords. So the cards perfectly fit together. And I can't tell you if the Queen is always on the right and the King is always on the left. I'll have to look at that later. Look at this gorgeous Sun card. And I have shared many of these in my top tarot minors. That's a 3 of baton. So very happy. It's lovely matte cardstock. I have to say that this cardstock, this deck, is such a better quality than Tarot of Echoes. And when Anna's art is on matte cardstock, it's just divine. And this is a really interesting world card. So I'm looking forward. That's the 8 of coins. I won't be showing this one tonight, but tonight I'm going to do the 8 of coins in top tarot minors. So yeah, very, very happy with this one. Ehrenberg Tarot is also in a 2-part box. This is a mass market deck by Steve Ehrenberg. And I'm so intrigued with perspective, and let me just start talking about this now because I'm going to be on all day today if I don't. So my daily tarot tip, and I'm going to show you a few decks where perspective can change the energy of your reading, and that to play with perspective is can awaken whole new things. And when I say that, it reminds me of my aha moment in the 5 of Pentacles card in The Wild Unknown. All of a sudden, I saw this sort of an image in the 5 of Pentacles in the Wild Unknown Tarot. So yeah, I'm not even sure that I have leafed through this whole deck, and I'm very, very curious about these close-ups. And so perspective. I'm all about not amassing tarot decks. However, having a deck that has a wonderful landscape, wide lens, and having a deck that has a narrow focus really does sort of, it plays with your mind, and it plays with what might be important in a reading. Even using a wide lens and a narrow lens in the same reading. So cool. Okay, so this idea of perspective. I did an extended deep dive with this deck, and this was an eye-opener for me, and because we did have some discussions about focal points in the cards. And so there's a whole playlist of this deck if you're interested on my channel. And this is particularly true in the outside cards, the cards that are in the garden, because some of the cards in this deck have a very specific corner of a room that they are looking at, and yet there is often a conversation about, you know, you can go deeper into the mirror. The mirror cards are very powerful in this deck. Or even use the mirrors as portals, openings. But I'm thinking of a card like, well, can you see? There's also a lot of walls, and so there are conversations to be had about what is inside the wall and what is beyond the wall. So while the focal point may be the artwork on the stonework, there's also something to be said about the wild and looming energy beyond the wall and what's going on within the garden. And perspective. So perspective is, or focal point is such an interesting way to change how you look at a card. And if you have a Waite-Smith deck in hand and you have, let's say, the Temperance card, and you've never really sat and focused on the path on the left side of the card, and all of a sudden you shift your focus and you make that the focal point of the card, this path on the left side of the Temperance card in the Waite-Smith deck, it changes things. And when I'm looking at this particular statue here, I'm feeling like I'm a little child looking up at this great, grand, looming energy. So what is this tarot? The tarot tip is to feel free to change your perspective. Now, another example, well, let's just use this deck. Is to, maybe not this one, let's use a different one. Where's the deck I was doing the reading with today? Here it is. Okay. I've been playing with cameras for a long time. So for years, with the older cameras I had, I was always reading upside down. And then because the way that my table was set up, I was looking at cards upside down, and then I would turn my head and look at the cards in the camera on the computer screen. And you see different things. It's extraordinary to look at your cards from different angles. And in the same way, if you turn your cards and you look at them from the side, you're going to get a different view. The advice here is don't just look at what is obvious in your card. Look at the focal point. Maybe the focal point is the light. Maybe the focal point is the face. I mean, have you taken your magnifying glass? Do you even have one? And look at the face of the turtle. Very hard to do on camera. Maybe there's something hidden in that little face. So, and I used my magnifying glass pretty much every single card in the Tildewick Tarot, not only because of its darkness, but there's so much in every card. And so play with perspective and have fun with it. And this might give you another idea or more confidence in just randomly shuffling your deck and reading reversals and not getting so hung up on how to read a reversal, but opening your perspective with the cards and seeing a reversal just as a different perspective. Yeah. So, some food for thought. And I want to go back to, hello, Magdalena. Nice to have you here live. Welcome. Thank you, Aria. I also want to go back to your previous comment. Mercury is a transgendered in myth, so not entirely out of the question, as magic of witches has always been a thing. Yeah, so that's in reference to Pamela Coleman Smith using a young woman as the magician, inspiration for the magician card in the Waite Smith deck. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you tomorrow for day 5. Take good care of yourselves. Namaste and have a pleasant sleep, Saskia, and those of you that are on the opposite side of the world. Bye for now.